She replaced you, faster than you thought was possible, faster than the relationship deserved. And somewhere between seeing his name in her stories and realizing she was already posting pictures, something in you broke in a way that felt less like heartbreak and more like an answer to a question you had been afraid to ask. Like the universe just handed you a verdict. Like the speed of her moving on was a direct measurement of how little you mattered. Like everything you thought was real was already being dismantled before you even had the chance to grieve it. And the worst part is not the replacement itself. You could have handled that eventually. The worst part is the speed. The speed that whispers the thing you are most afraid to hear, that what felt significant to you was already forgotten before you walked out the door. If that thought has been living in your chest since you found out, this video is for you. We show up every week for the man doing the hard work. Let's get into it. The first thing the Stoics would ask you to do with this information is separate the fact from the story. Because right now, the story your pain is writing around the fact is doing far more damage than the fact itself ever could. The fact is simple and entirely neutral. She is seeing someone new. That is the complete and total fact. Everything else, what it means about how much you mattered, what it reveals about the depth of what you shared, what it says about your worth, your replaceability, your fundamental value as a human being, that is not fact. That is pain, speaking in the voice of logic. And it is extraordinarily convincing because pain knows exactly which fears to activate, exactly which wounds to press, exactly which questions to ask in the specific tone that makes the answers feel inevitable and true. The Stoic practice begins with the refusal to accept pain's narration as truth. Marcus Aurelius returned to this discipline constantly, what he called stripping the legend from the thing and looking at what actually remains. A person made a new choice. That is the thing. Everything else, the meaning, the implication, the verdict on your worth, is the legend. And the legend, however convincing it feels at 2 in the morning when the silence is loud and the phone screen is bright with information you did not want, has no authority over what you actually are. Her moving on quickly does not tell you that you were not enough. It tells you that she is someone who moves on quickly. Those are not the same statement. One is about your value. The other is about her pattern. And the entire suffering of this moment is being generated by the confusion of those two things. Separate them. Cleanly, deliberately, repeatedly, whenever the pain tries to merge them back together. That separation is where your recovery begins. Comment below, "Her choices, not my worth," if you're done letting someone else's behavior write the story of your value. Here is the truth about fast replacements that nobody says out loud, because it does not fit the narrative of either the hopeful recovery or the satisfying bitterness, and it is uncomfortable in a way that requires genuine honesty to sit with. The speed with which someone moves on after a relationship ends is almost never a measure of how little the previous connection meant to them. It is almost always, with a consistency that psychology has documented repeatedly and that the Stoics understood intuitively, a measure of how uncomfortable that person is with being alone, of how poorly equipped they are to sit in the silence that endings create and feel what that silence contains without immediately reaching for something to fill it, of how dependent their sense of okayness is on having someone, anyone, occupying the role of romantic interest in their life. The replacement is not evidence that you were disposable. It is evidence that they are someone who cannot be alone. Think about what this actually means when you look at it clearly rather than through the distorting lens of pain. The person who moves on in weeks has not processed the previous connection. They have skipped the processing entirely and moved directly to the next available source of the feeling they cannot be without. The new relationship is not built on the ruins of a genuine evaluation of what was worth keeping and what was not. It is built on the urgent need to not feel the specific discomfort of being unattached. Epictetus taught about the nature of people who navigate their inner lives through constant external filling, who move from person to person, from connection to connection, from source of validation to source of validation, not because they are cruel or calculating, but because the silence of being genuinely alone with themselves is simply unbearable to them. That is not strength. That is a very specific and very visible form of fragility. What looks like indifference to what you shared was actually the sound of someone running from what the ending required them to feel. Comment below her speed, her issue, if understanding this finally lifted something off your chest. The question that matters, the only question that is actually yours to work with, is this: what do you do with yourself right now? Not with the information about her. Not with the knowledge of who he is, or how quickly it happened, or what it means about the relationship you thought you had. With yourself. With the hours of your actual life that are happening right now, regardless of what she is doing in hers. Because the specific danger of this kind of pain is that it pulls your attention completely and almost gravitationally outward, to her, to the new person, to the comparison, to the monitoring, to the slow and methodical self-harm of checking her profile one more time to see if the information has changed, as though looking again might produce a different result, as though more information might somehow make it hurt less. It never does. Every check reopens what the previous check reopened, and every minute your attention is out there, in her life, in her choices, in the dynamic that no longer involves you in any way, is a minute that is not in your life, your growth, your building, your becoming. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the discipline of attention as the most fundamental and most frequently neglected form of self-governance available to a human being. The trained, practiced, daily capacity to direct your mind toward what is within your control and consistently, deliberately away from what is not. Her new relationship is not within your control. What you do in the next hour is. What you choose to invest in today is. Who you are in the process of becoming through this specific and painful chapter of your life is. The Stoic prescription for this moment is therefore direct and immediate, and requires no strategy. Close the app. Not as a tactic designed to produce a feeling of superiority, not as a performance of indifference, because every time you check, you are not gathering information that will help you heal. You are choosing to reopen a wound that has not had a single uninterrupted hour to begin closing. Closing the app is not avoidance. It is the most honest and most self-respecting choice available to you right now. Comment below, "I'm building, not watching," if you're choosing your own story over monitoring hers. The comparison is coming if it has not already arrived in full force. That inevitable, specific, almost physical discomfort of looking at whoever she has moved on to and measuring yourself against them. Looking for the differences. Looking for what they have that you did not. Looking for the explanation that makes the replacement make logical sense, that gives your mind the narrative it is desperately seeking. Because the mind, especially in pain, wants story more than it wants truth, and the story it is constructing around the replacement requires a reason, requires a hierarchy, requires there to be something that they have, and you lack, that explains the whole terrible sequence. This comparison is one of the most destructive things you can do to yourself in this period. Not because the comparison might not favor you. It might, in many measurable ways it probably does, but because the comparison is built on a false premise that will corrupt your thinking, regardless of which way the results seem to run. The false premise is this: that she made a rational, considered, quality-based evaluation of two men and chose the one who offered more. that the replacement is the result of an upgrade decision made by someone operating with full information and clear judgment. Relationships do not work this way. People in the immediate aftermath of an ending do not make quality-based evaluations. They reach for the nearest available source of the feeling they cannot be without. The new person is not better than you in any meaningful sense. They are present in a moment when you are not. They are new in a way that temporarily conceals the patterns and the difficulties and the real work of knowing them that will inevitably surface. They carry the specific, temporary glow of early connection. The glow that all new connections carry before reality begins to emerge through it. You are not being compared to who that person actually is. You are being compared to the projection of who they might be, held against the full, honest, sometimes difficult reality of who you actually were. That is not a fair comparison. It is not a competition you lost. It is a comparison that was never structurally valid. And investing your self-worth in its results is investing in a calculation that was broken before it started. Comment below, "I don't compete," if measuring yourself against her next choice is a game you're done playing. Here is where Stoic philosophy makes its most counterintuitive and most demanding requirement of you in this moment. The requirement that you genuinely, not as performance, not as spiritual posturing, but actually, and from the inside, wish her well. Not for her sake, for yours. Because the alternative, the bitterness, the resentment, the quiet and persistent monitoring of her new relationship for early signs of failure, the low-grade sustained hope that it falls apart quickly enough to mean something, the satisfaction you imagine you would feel if it did, is one of the most expensive emotional postures a human being can maintain. It is expensive because it does not punish her. It does not touch her. It does not alter her experience in any measurable way. What it does is keep you connected to her, tethered to her story, organized around her happiness as an enemy, spending your best and most creative energy on the management of a feeling about someone who has already moved on. Seneca wrote about resentment with the specific precision of someone who had felt it deeply and examined it honestly. He wrote that the man who holds on to anger toward someone who has left is not guarding anything worth guarding. He is simply refusing to be free. He is choosing the familiar pain of being wronged over the unfamiliar territory of being genuinely released. The Stoic alternative is not to pretend the pain is not real. It is not to perform a generosity you do not feel. It is to do the honest work of arriving at genuine release, to sit with what happened, to feel it completely, to allow it to be what it actually was rather than what you needed it to be, and then to genuinely let the story close. The man who can say with honest feeling, "I hope she finds what she is looking for, and I am going to go build what I am looking for," that man has done something that takes real courage and produces real freedom. The tether is gone. The story is no longer an active drama consuming his inner life. He is free. Not free from the memory or the feeling. Free to move forward as himself rather than as someone still defined by how this ended. Comment below, "Released, not replaced," if you're choosing your peace over the poison of keeping score. The Stoic concept that reframes every part of this situation, the replacement, the speed, the comparison, the pain, is the concept of preferred indifference. The Stoics divided all things in existence into three distinct categories: things that are genuinely good, and by this they meant exclusively the virtues, the qualities of character, honesty, courage, wisdom, integrity, justice, the daily practice of becoming the best version of yourself. Things that are genuinely bad, the vices, the corruptions of character, the choices that make you less than what you are capable of being, and things that are neither good nor bad in themselves, but merely preferred or dispreferred, things that are real, that are feelable, that are worth caring about and worth pursuing when possible, but that are not the foundation of a good life and not the measure of a person's worth. Relationships fall into this third category. Whether someone chooses you falls into this category. Whether someone replaces you, and how quickly and with whom, all of it falls into this category. This is not a counsel of coldness or philosophical indifference to human connection. The Stoics loved. Marcus Aurelius grieved the deaths of his children with real and evident anguish. Seneca wrote letters to his friends that are among the most tender and intimate documents in the ancient world. Epictetus spoke about the bonds between human beings with genuine reverence and warmth. What the preferred indifference framework does is not eliminate feeling, it relocates worth. It says, I can feel the pain of this replacement deeply and honestly, and I can wish it had gone differently, and I can grieve what I thought was real, and none of that changes the location of my worth. My worth is not in whether she chose me. My worth is not in the speed of her moving on. My worth is in my character, in the daily, imperfect, genuine practice of being the kind of man I have decided to be, in the quality of my choices when the choices are hard, in whether I show up for my own life with honesty and effort, and the specific kind of courage that this moment is currently demanding of me. That is where the Stoics put their worth. And the man who has genuinely put his worth there, not as an affirmation, but as a lived daily practice, cannot be diminished by any replacement, not by its speed, not by its visibility, not by any story her choices are trying to tell about him. Comment below, untouchable, if you've stopped letting other people's choices determine how you feel about yourself. Here is what you actually do in the days and weeks ahead. Because the Stoics were never philosophers of beautiful ideas without practical application, and this moment needs concrete direction as much as it needs philosophy. The first thing is the most immediate. Stop consuming her content. Completely. Starting now. Not as a tactic to make her wonder why you stopped watching her stories, because every time you look, you are making a deliberate choice to spend your finite, irreplaceable attention on something that cannot be changed, cannot be influenced, and produces nothing except the sustained reopening of a wound you need to close. There is no version of checking her profile that ends with you feeling better. There is no piece of information available there that will help you heal. The checking is not information gathering. It is a compulsion dressed as curiosity, and every time you honor it, you are training your nervous system that the discomfort of not knowing is more unbearable than the pain of knowing. It is not. But you will not discover that until you stop. The second thing is to move your body every single day without exception. Not to become more physically attractive than whoever she is with now. Not as a revenge body project organized around her eventual noticing. Because physical discipline is the most immediate and most reliable way available to you to remind your nervous system, at the level of lived embodied experience rather than intellectual intention, that you are a person with agency and capacity, that you can choose something hard and do it and feel the specific, grounding satisfaction of having done it, that your body and your life are yours, and they respond to your choices, and that response is real regardless of what she is doing. The third thing, the one that separates the men who come through this genuinely transformed from the men who simply survive it and repeat it, is to pour the energy that was going into the relationship, into the grief, into the monitoring, into something that builds your work, your craft, your specific, demanding, absorbing thing that requires the best of you, not as distraction, as genuine investment in the life that exists regardless of whether she is in it. Comment below, grief into growth, if you've decided to make your next chapter worth more than your last one. Here is the piece of honest Stoic philosophy that most people are not ready to hear until they have been through enough iterations of this kind of pain to finally be tired of it. The man who comes out of this experience genuinely transformed, not just recovered, not just functional again, but actually different in a way that changes how he moves through relationships for the rest of his life, is the man who used this experience to do a specific and uncomfortable piece of inner work. The work of examining where his self-worth was living when this happened. Because if the speed of her replacement could produce this level of pain, this specific, deep, destabilizing sense of being insufficient and disposable, it means that a significant portion of his sense of worth was organized around her continued choosing of him, and that is the wound underneath the wound. The original injury is not that she moved on quickly. The original injury is that his sense of himself was resting on something she could take with her when she left. Epictetus was the most direct of all the Stoics on this point. He taught that the man who cannot be okay without a specific external condition being met has given the power over his inner life to whoever controls that condition. If your sense of being enough required her continued presence to remain intact, then she owned something in you that should have belonged only to you. And the work this experience is asking you to do, the specific, honest, difficult, deeply unsexy work, is to take that thing back, to relocate your sense of worth into the only territory where it is permanently safe, your own character, your own daily choices, your own growing relationship with the man you are becoming. Not because she deserves to lose the power, because you deserve to have it back. That relocation, from external validation to internal character, is the work that this pain is making available to you right now. It is the curriculum hiding inside the obstacle. And the man who does that work does not just recover from this. He becomes someone who cannot be put in this position again. Comment below, "I take my worth back," if this hit where it needed to hit. Here is the final thing, the thing that lands only after everything else has settled. The replacement is not the worst thing that could have happened to you. The worst thing that could have happened was staying. Staying in a connection that was not genuinely right for you, that was held in place by the comfort of familiarity and the specific, numbing fear of exactly the kind of pain you are currently in. Staying and drifting. Staying and slowly, imperceptibly becoming less yourself as the years passed, and the connection took more than it gave, and the distance between who you were and who you were becoming quietly grew. That is the worst outcome, the one that costs you not weeks, but years. The one that does not announce itself with the sharp clarity of a fast replacement, but accumulates silently until one day you look up and wonder where the man you were going to be actually went. The replacement, for all its pain and all its speed and all the specific cruelty of its visibility, gave you something that the slow drift would never have given you. Clarity. A clean ending. The specific, sharp, impossible to rationalize away knowledge that this was not the right place for you. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the obstacle being the way, not as a motivational slogan, but as a genuine philosophical observation about the nature of difficulty and what it contains when you look at it honestly rather than just endure it. The obstacle of this replacement, examined honestly, contains this: the freedom to finally, fully, unambiguously go. To build the life and become the man that the wrong relationship was quietly preventing you from becoming. You were not disposable, you were misplaced. And now, finally, painfully, undeniably, you are free.